Marvel's New God, the man who outsmarted the Avengers. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11. You. Give it to me? Are you kidding? Hearing what Lin Fan said, Tony Stark was directly stupid. It's not that he doesn't want to accept it. It is precisely because he wants nanotechnology that he knows the value of this technology and knows what it means. Not to mention that with this technology, the steel warframe can be greatly optimized and upgraded. The value of nanotechnology alone is self-evident. If Lin Fan is willing, he can use nanotechnology to create an enterprise that is no less than Stark Industries. It was precisely because of this that he was so shocked by what Lin Fan said. How? You don't want to? Lin Fan asked with a smile. Want? Tony Stark looked back and nodded heavily. He simply cannot refuse nanotechnology. He doesn't care about the benefits he can create, the main thing is that with nanotechnology, his steel armor can be carried around. In this way, Iron Man will no longer have any weaknesses. Except, of course, when facing the man in front of you. A superpower who can only control the magnetic field, and even control the metal, is completely Tyankada, okay. Then send you, but I also have conditions. Lin Fan very indifferently put the pen on his seat. Not caring about Tony Stark's shock and ecstasy, he said to himself, you and I are very clear about the gold content of this technology, although I said to give it to you, it naturally cannot be completely free. Well, it's nature. Tony Stark nodded when he heard this, not surprised at all. He didn't think he was so charismatic. Moreover, even if Lin Fan gave him the technology worth trillions, he really hesitated to accept it. There is no such thing as a lunch for nothing. As a businessman, no one knows this better than he does. Lin Fan had the conditions, but let him rest assured. So what do you want, Lin Fan? Tony Stark asked bluntly. Since Lin Fan said so, there was no need for him to beat around the bush, just spread it out and say it. For this cooperation, or the deal, he is very eager to close. In any case, nanotechnology he is bound to get. It's simple. Lin Fan smiled slightly and said indifferently, I can give you all the nanotechnology, and Stark Industries will benefit from this technology, and I only need 50% of it. Yes, very reasonable request. Tony Stark nodded directly in agreement, and even felt that he had made a lot of money. He didn't even expect Lin Fan to only have 50% benefits. You must know that when it comes to nanotechnology, even if a genius is like him, don't think about studying it in a few years. So in these few years, Lin Fan has an absolutely exclusive advantage. This completely allowed Lin Fan to negotiate a contract of at least 3 or 7 points. And 50% is clearly he took advantage of the big deal. Don't worry, I have other conditions, it's never too late to decide after you listen. Ignoring Tony Stark, Lin Fan said to himself, I also need a set of armor, I will provide the materials myself, and Stark Industries will help me process it. It's easy, I agree. Tony Stark couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He also thought that Lin Fan had a lot of conditions. Unexpectedly, in addition to asking for shares, what he wanted was actually a steel armor. Did Lin Fan also want to be an Iron Man? But presumably, his steel armor is very popular. Didn't you see that so many people and forces want it? One more thing. At this moment, Lin Fan spoke again. Tony Stark suddenly darkened and said angrily, Hey, it's endless? You have the conditions to say it all at once. This is the last condition. Lin Fan was not moved in the slightest and said to himself, I also need artificial intelligence data, which can be Jarvis's or something else. In short, I just need the underlying data. Hearing this, Tony Stark was silent for a while. This condition made him hesitate. For him, Jarvis is not just an artificial intelligence, but also represents certain memories. To ask him to hand over Jarvis' underlying data, he actually resisted. But if it's just the underlying data, facing Lin Fan's request, he couldn't help but get tangled. At the same time, Lin Fan also watched silently. Of course, he knew that his request was very difficult for Tony Stark, and it was even likely to be rejected. But in order to verify the conjecture in his heart, artificial intelligence data is bound to be obtained. Artificial intelligence has indeed helped him a lot. First of all, there is the problem of steel warframes. The combat effectiveness of the nano warframe is self-evident, and with his own artificial intelligence as a deputy, it is definitely better than his manual operation. And you don't have to worry about privacy or security. The second is the system. Just now, Tony Stark explained to him the optimization and upgrade of the warframe, which actually triggered the system setting and allowed him to get the nano warframe technology. Lin Fan couldn't help but wonder how the system mechanism was triggered. And asking for artificial intelligence data is an attempt. If with the help of this information, the special mechanism of the system can be triggered again, he can try to trigger it again and again in the future. Even if he can't, he has nothing to lose. Just as Lin Fan was secretly groaning, Tony Stark raised his head. It was as if he had made some kind of decision. Taking a deep breath, he looked directly at Lin Fan and said in a deep voice, "I can give you the information, but I will keep the core data of Jarvis, and you can only get a weak artificial intelligence." Episode 12. Aha, that's enough, I'm not demanding. Lin Fan shrugged, unimpressed by Tony Stark's statement. He didn't intend to ask for Jarvis core data. And it's not nice to say. The current Jarvis is only a low-level artificial intelligence, and it is still very early to evolve into Ultron in the future, and even Vision. Even if he gets the core data, it won't help him much. He is mainly to test the triggering mechanism of the system. As long as he can trigger the system's anti-heavenly understanding, then he will definitely get artificial intelligence-related rewards. At that time, Jarvis's data will be dispensable to him. Happy cooperation. Lin Fan didn't care much, and Tony Stark breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that Lin Fan would refuse this deal. If he could, he really didn't want to refuse the temptation of nanotechnology, even inevitable. But fortunately, Lin Fan did not continue to test his bottom line. For a while, Tony Stark looked happy, and directly poured a glass of whiskey for the two, making a gesture of wanting to toast. Happy cooperation. Lin Fan smiled and took the cup and put it aside. Instead, he picked up a glass of milk, touched it with Tony Stark, and said indifferently, "I prefer to eat healthy and don't drink alcohol after meals." Saying that, he drank to himself. And Tony Stark was slightly stunned, and then helplessly put the wine glass back in its place, and also poured himself a glass of milk. The two looked at each other and smiled, and suddenly felt that the other party was quite interesting. Men's friendship may be so simple. Tread. At this moment, there were footsteps outside. Soon Pepper walked in. Seeing the two big men who were drinking milk, she paused slightly, and then walked slowly to the two of them. "Rare, Tony, you don't drink?" Pepper looked at Tony Stark in amazement. And hearing her ridicule, Tony Stark said seriously, "Drinking milk is good for health." "Huh?" Pepper rolled her eyes, believing that you have a ghost. Lin Fan greeted with a smile. "Hello, Miss Pepper." "Mr. Lin." Pepper nodded politely, a look of gratitude. If it weren't for Lin Fan, I'm afraid Tony would be in danger, and even his life would probably be lost. "Pepper, why are you here?" At this moment, Tony Stark asked curiously. "Isn't Pepper supposed to be in the company at this time?" "Humph. What else do you say?" Pepper glared at Tony dissatisfied, and said in a resentful tone, "You give me such a big mess and use yourself as a dispenser. Do you think it's easy to manage an entire company?" "Ahem, what is that?" Tony Stark suddenly became embarrassed when he heard this. Only then did he finally remember. It turned out that he had just studied the steel armor before, so he gave the position of CEO to Pepper and asked the other party to help him manage the company's affairs on his behalf. Pepper is a little woman, how can she manage an entire company? This is not intended to embarrass people. Didn't I ask you to hire people at will? How, isn't there a suitable one? Tony Stark quickly changed the subject and said. Humph. Snorting, Pepper said helplessly, "There are many interviewers, but there are not many suitable ones, but there is a good one named Natasha." Natasha? When Lin Fan heard this, he subconsciously exclaimed. The name is all too familiar. And in fact, such a coincidence, if he guessed correctly, I am afraid that there is no one else except Black Widow. Hey, do you know? Pepper and Tony Stark looked at Lin Fan curiously. They couldn't help but be curious for a while. Lin Fan, a mysterious superpower, has an extraordinary origin. How could he know Natasha? These two people don't look like they're going to be connected. No, I don't know. Lin Fan converged his expression and shrugged his shoulders. I just think this name is very good, just like Zhong San Lizi in our country, it is very common. He casually found an excuse to perfunctory the past. Pepper nodded knowingly. Tony Stark rolled his eyes and looked at Lin Fan with some kind of ill intentions. What do you want to do? Seeing this, Lin Fan immediately looked guarded. But Tony Stark laughed. Lin Fan, you see that we are all partners now. I am a huge company, how can you say that you can also make a difference? What partner? Without waiting for Lin Fan to answer, Pepper was shocked. She looked at the two suspiciously. What happened between Lin Fan and Tony on the night she left? How do you feel that these two people are familiar with each other? Two big men. Long nights, no intentional sleep. It won't be. I don't know what came to mind. Pepper was suddenly shocked, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Hey, don't think too much. Feeling Pepper's strange gaze, Tony Stark was dumbfounded. My billionaire doesn't like men. Seeing that Pepper was thinking about it, he quickly explained. Lin Fan has a very powerful technology that can punish metals, that is, nanotechnology. He licensed this technology to me just now. In the future, Lin Fan will be a shareholder of our Stark Industries. As soon as these words came out, Pepper suddenly realized. But then she was even more shocked. Nanotechnology? You must know that in this era, smartphones have just begun to become popular, and all aspects of technology have not developed. But Lin Fan, a superpower, actually has advanced nanotechnology? She was suddenly even more curious about Lin Fan's identity. Episode 13, Shareholders? How did I not know about this? Hearing what Tony Stark said, Lin Fan was surprised. They are indeed a partnership, though. But all he wanted was dividends, but he didn't say he asked for shares and became a shareholder in Stark Industries. The difference between the two is very significant. One is simply a penny. The other is to have shares, even voting rights, that can determine the future development of Stark Industries. For Tony Stark's decision, Lin Fan was caught off guard. Pepper on the side also cast a curious gaze when he heard this. Just now. Meeting the gazes of the two, Tony Stark shrugged and said, Lin Fan, you know, we will be a cooperative relationship in the future, and I am very generous to my partners. Saying that, he made an unpolite look. Without waiting for Lin Fan to object, he announced in a serious manner, so from today onwards, you are the executive director of Stark Industries. As soon as these words came out, Pepper was stunned. Shareholders are left alone. Executive directors that can interfere with the company's operation, the power is not ordinarily large. She couldn't help but be a little shocked by Tony's willfulness at this time. Although nanotechnology is extremely valuable, with a stranger as an executive shareholder, is Tony not afraid of a big mess in the company? Not to say what was in Pepper's mind. Hey, have you consulted me for this decision? Faced with Tony Stark's arbitrary decision, Lin Fan said dissatisfied, I only want dividends, but I didn't promise to be an executive director, so you shouldn't want me to work for you for nothing, right? Lin Fan said and stared straight at Tony Stark. He always felt that this guy had bad intentions. And he originally wanted to prostitute Stark Industries for nothing and help him make money. Now what's the other way around? Hey. Tony Stark smiled, unimpressed. Those who can work more. He poured Lin Fan a glass of milk again. Ignoring Lin Fan's gaze, he walked to the computer on the side and crackled for a while. Soon he pulled out a USB flash drive and walked back to Lin Fan and sat down. This is the information you want, I hope you make good use of it. Tony Stark said with a somewhat solemn expression. This is artificial intelligence data. If Lin Fan used it to do bad things, I am afraid that even the top hackers might not be able to stop it. This was not that he believed or doubted Lin Fan, but a warning. Lin Fan took the USB flash drive and was non-committal. Ignoring Tony Stark's behavior of changing the subject, he couldn't help but look forward to it. This USB stick is the key to testing the system mechanism. Pepper on the side didn't know why, so he watched all this. For the behavior of these two men playing dumb puzzles, she couldn't help but wonder about the reason, but she also knew that there were some things that should not be asked. In this eerie atmosphere, the three exchanged pleasantries. Half an hour later, Lin Fan returned to the room. Looking at Lin Fan's back, Tony Stark said mockingly, Lin Fan, don't forget to go to work tomorrow. As an executive director, you have to go to the company to see how you say. Just in time for Pepper to introduce you to Natasha. What a shame. If I hadn't been ready to study nanotechnology, this kind of good thing wouldn't have been your turn. Lin Fan, who walked to the door, did not turn his head. He raised his hand and raised his middle finger, the meaning was self-evident, and his figure quickly disappeared into the corridor. Inside the lab, Tony Stark laughed. He enjoyed this feeling of teasing Lin Fan. No matter how powerful your superpowers are, but in front of my poisonous snake Tony, aren't you still unable to say a word? And when it comes to women, he is confident that Lin Fan will definitely not be able to compare with him. After all, he is the man who has slept all year round of cover girls in fashion magazines. Humph. At this moment, a proud snort sounded. Tony Stark's body shook. He turned his head and saw Pepper staring at him resentfully, as if looking at a negative man. Suddenly, the smile on his face froze, and he was speechless. Pepper, I'll go first, you go to your Natasha. Pepper turned his head and got up straight to leave. Her tone was full of dissatisfaction. With the sound of clicking high heels, Pepper followed Lin Fan and left. Only Tony Stark was left in the room, who wanted to cry without tears. Hey, women are such trouble. At the same time, Lin Fan returned to the room and directly exuded spiritual induction. He shields all signals directly with the help of magnetic fields. The villa has been transformed by Tony Stark with fully intelligent furniture and is also controlled by Jarvis. Next, he will test the system mechanism, which involves his greatest personal secret. So he didn't want anyone else to watch. Whether Tony Stark does this or not, precautions are essential. Phew. Hope my guess is correct. Taking a deep breath, Lin Fan directly inserted the USB flash drive into the computer. Soon the information in the USB flash drive appeared. Just a glance, he suddenly felt dizzy, completely unaware of the use of those data. Artificial intelligence is not something that anyone can understand. Lin Fan soon gave up self-taught. Although he has mastered nanotechnology, it is very different from artificial intelligence, and I am afraid that he can only rely on the system to learn it. And the comprehension against the heavens did not disappoint Lin Fan. Ding, the host learns artificial intelligence technology, triggers anti-heavenly understanding, and inspiration bursts. Episode 14. Hello boss, I'm your secretary Natasha, nice to meet you. In the luxurious office, Lin Fan silently looked at the urban beauty in front of him. At this time, a bright smile appeared on the other party's face. Reflecting her beautiful body and exuding a deadly charm, I don't know how many men can fall for it. But looking at this person, Lin Fan only felt powerless to complain in his heart. Natasha? How did you become my secretary? Lin Fan felt stupid at this time. Although let Natasha be his secretary, it is estimated that no man can refuse, but the premise is that he does not know the identity of the other party. If you know the identity of an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the title of Black Widow, I'm afraid that's enough to dissuade most men who are distracted. Dangerous women can't afford to mess with. And the woman nicknamed Black Widow, or even a secret agent, is even more unbearable. Boss, are you all right? Seeing that Lin Fan did not speak, Natasha asked with a concerned look. She said and thoughtfully poured a cup of warm water. This intimate secretary's posture, coupled with her amorous temperament, is simply addictive. But in Lin Fan's ears, a dissatisfied girl's voice sounded. Master, this woman is a bad woman. Natasha, you go down first. Lin Fan indifferently took the water cup and waved his hand casually. It was as if he hadn't heard a voice in his ear. When a surprised Natasha left, he turned on the computer, and a girl in a red dress was bouncing on the screen. Looking at the artificial intelligence he got, Lin Fan asked indifferently, Queen Red, what did you find? Humph. The girl in the red dress smiled proudly and raised her little head arrogantly. But then she immediately said with a small face, just now, I was idle and fine, so I randomly searched for the identity of that bad woman, but I didn't expect that she turned out to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I seriously suspect that she deliberately approached the owner of you. You can find out all this? How did you do it? Unexpectedly, the Red Queen found out Natasha's identity, and Lin Fan suddenly became interested. Of course he knew that Natasha was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. But the crux of the matter is, how did the Red Queen find this information? Could it be that the information of S.H.I.E.L.D. members was directly disclosed? Hee. Red showed cunning behind and said casually, it's nothing, it's just hacking into the secret network of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I discovered by accident. Hearing this, Lin Fan was directly stunned. Boy. I call the good guys. A newly born artificial intelligence of yours, relying on a laptop, actually hacked into the secret network of S.H.I.E.L.D.? If this is discovered, I will suffer even your master. S.H.I.E.L.D. is called S.H.I.E.L.D., but it is actually S.H.I.E.L.D. He didn't want to get into a lot of trouble. Queen Red, you did a good job, but don't do it next time. Lin Fan immediately said with a straight face, in the future, without my permission, you can't hack into those secret networks casually, but I won't restrict you in other things. Well, I'm sorry, Master. The Red Queen knew that she was in trouble, and suddenly showed a pitiful look. The emotional system is so real and intelligent, those who don't know think she is real. And this is exactly the reward Lin Fan got yesterday. The perfect version of artificial intelligence. It is even no exaggeration to say that once the Red Queen is provided with a body, the first intelligent life will be born on the Earth. Not to mention how many levels higher than Jarvis is in the Red Queen. Just for the test of the system mechanism, Lin Fan has already got what he wanted. In addition to personally participating in the battle, he found a second way to trigger the anti-heavenly understanding, but only if someone provided him with the appropriate technique. For example, Tony Stark explained Warframe research to him. Or study the learning materials on your own. The above three methods can trigger the system mechanism, but there is no guarantee of 100% success. Lin Fan thought that if he had the opportunity in the future, he would test it a few more times. Knock knock. Just then, there was a knock on the office door. Lin Fan raised his head and saw Pepper walking in, followed by Natasha. "Hey, Mr. Lin, are you still used to it?" Pepper said hello with a smile. Her expression was very strange at this time. After all, she gave Natasha to Lin Fan as a secretary, but she didn't expect that within 3 minutes, Natasha was kicked out by Lin Fan. This suddenly made her a little suspicious of Natasha's charm. Although I don't want to admit it. But as a woman, she thinks she is inferior to Natasha. Whether it is body shape or temperament, Natasha is like a peerless stunner that will captivate countless men. But looking at Lin Fan's reaction, it seems that he doesn't feel anything about Natasha. Is there really a man who is unmoved? Or rather, Pepper, you're here. Feeling someone's strange gaze, Lin Fan shook his head helplessly. He took Pepper to the couch and sat down. Natasha was very perceptive and directly brought tea to the two, looking dutiful. How? Mr. Lin didn't seem happy, Pepper teased again. Lin Fan was suddenly speechless. I thought Tony Stark was just talking yesterday. But I didn't expect Pepper to come for real. You think it's a caring secretary, but in my eyes, it's a deadly Black Widow. No kidding, Pepper. Shaking his head helplessly, Lin Fan had to change the topic. If you don't go to the Three Treasures Hall for anything, if you have any orders, just say, I will do my best. Really? Pepper covered her mouth and chuckled, pleasantly surprised. Since you said so, then I can't live up to Mr. Lin's kindness. I really have one thing I want to ask you. Lin Fan, Episode 15. I said just to be polite, will you believe it? Lin Fan looked at Pepper helplessly. Originally, he was just polite, but as a result, Pepper really wanted to send him work. Isn't this a danger to his fat tiger? He just wants to get some dividends, why is it so difficult? Poof. Seeing this, Pepper immediately covered his mouth and chuckled. Looking at Lin Fan's pitiful look, she didn't expect Lin Fan to be so cute. Maybe the other party is really not a womanizer like Tony. In this way, she can also safely give Natasha to Lin Fan without worrying about the other party being unspoken. Tony Stark, are you polite? Natasha's phoenix eyes, who stood there silently on the side, flashed a different color. She listened quietly to the conversation between the two. For this new boss, she recognized the identity of the other party at a glance. Isn't it a dangerous person with powerful superpowers in intelligence? She role-plays Stark Industries this time, and this person is one of the targets. But she didn't expect things to go so smoothly. On the first day she entered the company, Pepper sent her to Lin Fan as a secretary. But Lin Fan didn't seem to treat her very well, even abandon? Realizing this, she suddenly had some self-doubt. Could it be that she is not attractive? Mr. Lin is really funny, unlike Tony, Pepper smiled and praised, but sighed helplessly when it came to Tony. Who made her fall in love with an amorous playboy? I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. Realizing his gaffe, Pepper smiled apologetically. It's okay. Lin Fan waved his hand, unimpressed. Having a boyfriend like Tony Stark, although the relationship has not yet been determined, is the most embarrassing. Watching a man you like share a bed with another woman. Even help the other party deal with the aftermath. Generous gift crab. Lin Fan just thought about it, and he couldn't help but sympathize with Pepper. If there is anything, just say it. Seeing that the matter had come to this, Lin Fan simply accepted the reality. Pepper shouldn't embarrass him. If you just do a small favor, he doesn't mind making a move anyway, he happens to be idle and idle. Thank you so much, Mr. Lin. Pepper smiled, grateful. But then she complained frantically with a helpless face. You also know how unreliable Tony is. I've been really busy and crazy lately, and I'm really lacking in skills. Just tomorrow Osborne Industries is holding a fair. How about you, Mr. Lin, participate on behalf of Stark Industries? How about having Natasha your girlfriend? Saying that, Pepper looked at Natasha and asked, Natasha, what do you think? Natasha nodded generously and said indifferently, this is my duty, if the boss needs it, I can. Thank you, Natasha. Pepper became more and more satisfied when he saw this. Such a shrewd and capable secretary, if it wasn't for Tony's request, she really didn't want to give it to Lin Fan. After all, Lin Fan didn't need to deal with the company's cumbersome affairs. Isn't it a waste to make Natasha a vase? Tony is really willful, if only he could be as mature as Mr. Lin. Pepper silently complained, and turned to look at Lin Fan with an earnest expression. And Lin Fan also nodded and said, I promised to do this. Phew. Pepper breathed a sigh of relief and bowed. Thank you so much, Mr. Lin, I'll have someone send you a suit later. Natasha, do you have a favorite dress style? Saying that, Pepper looked at Natasha and asked. I can do it. Natasha shook her head indifferently. Thinking of going out alone with Lin Fan tomorrow, she silently calculated in her heart. This may be a good time to get close to Lin Fan. What a mysterious man. But she didn't believe it, with her Black Widow's seductive style, there were still mission goals under the sky that she couldn't figure out. Then I'll help you pick a suitable one later. Pepper smiled and got up, pulling Natasha's soft. The two women are like good girlfriends. Mr. Lin, then I'll go first, I'll borrow Natasha for a while, and I'll return it to you later. Squeezing his eyes at Lin Fan, Pepper directly pulled Natasha to leave. Lin Fan watched all this silently. This Pepper's heart is good, but it is really fearless for the ignorant. Do you really think Natasha is an easy person? But thinking about it, having a SHIELD agent next to him may not be a bad thing. At least he doesn't have to worry about surreptitious surveillance or even threats. Queen Red, here comes the mission. After Pepper and the two left, Lin Fan quickly returned to his desk. He said in a deep voice into the Red Queen in the computer, help me monitor everyone within a radius of 10,000 meters, and report to me immediately if you find a suspicious person. Yes, Master. The Red Queen smiled sweetly and said quickly, I have taken over all the electronic equipment, Master, you can rest assured, the Red Queen will definitely protect the safety of the Master. Lin Fan smiled and praised when he heard this. Well done, Red Queen. Hee hee. The Red Queen smiled proudly. Lin Fan ignored Hong Ho, but leaned on the chair with his own care. Thinking of what Pepper said, he muttered to himself, Osborne Industries exposition? If I'm not mistaken, the little spider was bitten at the fair, right? Could it be this time? Thinking back to the relevant plot, he suddenly looked forward to it. Maybe tomorrow he can witness the birth of Spider-Man. And taking this opportunity, can he trigger the system mechanism again and get a new reward? Episode 16, Osborne Mess. On this day, Osborne industrial gongs and drums were noisy, and firecrackers sounded in unison, which was very lively. Many celebrities and officials came here. Just because today Osborne Industry will hold an expo to publicize and research products for 2.5 years, and actively cooperate with various organizations. Whether it's a collaboration or a networking experience, it's a great time. And at the outfield door of the fair, with a shrill sound of hard braking, a red sports car drove up, attracting the attention of everyone present. Lin Fan, wearing a handmade suit, walked out of the driver's seat slowly. Feeling the strange gazes around him, he looked indifferent. Walking to the co-pilot's seat, Lin Fan welcomed Natasha out very gentlemanly. Thank you, boss. Natasha smiled and put the soft shade on Lin Fan's hand. Lin Fan led Natasha towards the venue. While walking, he said indifferently without looking back, today is a private party, not work, you are my female companion, Natasha, just call me Lin Fan. Well, okay, Lin Fan. Natasha's red lips were slightly raised, and her moving eyes flashed a different color. She suddenly became more and more curious about Lin Fan. This man seems to be cold, but he is cold on the outside and hot on the inside, but he didn't expect to be weird and intimate. But the task is ahead, and she must find a way to find out the intelligence. And this expo is the best opportunity. Huh, these two are? At the entrance of the venue, Norman Osborn, who was greeting the guests, was slightly stunned. He looked at Lin Fan and Natasha, who came with a surprised expression. These two people are dressed in extraordinary temperament, but in the invitation list, how could he not remember these two? But he did not dare to slacken, and immediately hurried up. He was followed by a beautiful woman. This person wore a black dress, reflecting the beautiful appearance and figure, and the style was not inferior to Natasha. The moment they saw this woman, Lin Fan and Natasha's eyes lit up. Natasha felt some kind of threat. That's a comparison between women. But Lin Fan was not. From Norman Osborn, the female companion, he also felt threatened, that is, the threat of being a fellow human. In other words, this woman is also a superpower. Or call it, mutants. That's interesting. If I'm not mistaken, Normanos itself probably doesn't have this guy, right? Lin Fan quietly withdrew his gaze and secretly raised his vigilance. As the saying goes, if something goes wrong, there will be a demon. The appearance of a strange mutant does not know what kind of changes will be triggered. I only hope that it will not involve him. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't want to be too brazen. Welcome to the arrival of the two. Osborn Industries is full of glory because of the arrival of the two. Norman Osborn looked at Lin Fan with a smile. Take the liberty of asking who the next two are from? Stark Industries. Lin Fan said indifferently. As soon as these words came out, everyone in the audience was stunned, and then looked at Lin Fan in shock. Could it be that this is the mysterious shareholder who suddenly appeared? Because just yesterday, Stark Industries announced the addition of new shareholders, and just 6 months later, Stark Industries will also hold a fair. And at the press conference, Stark Industries also showed some pictures. It even involves energy, space, genetic engineering, and even nanometals. Everyone was shocked by the power of Stark Industries. In this day and age, Stark Industries has mastered nanotechnology and has been leading the world for at least 20 years. Stark Industries, whose stock plummeted due to the closure of the weapons division. With this news release, the stock instantly returned to the top. Countless enterprises secretly exclaimed, "The wolf is coming." What's more, it is speculated that the nanotechnology suddenly announced by Stark Industries may not be the work of the genius inventor Tony Stark. And the real owner of this technology is likely to be the mysterious shareholder. After all, not everyone can get a stake in Stark Industries. Hello sir, dare to ask sir respect for the daimyo? Norman Osborn's heart also jumped, and his expression became more and more kind. He wasn't so respectful to Stark Industries, though. But also as a family business, Stark Industries, under the leadership of Howard and Tony, did create an unimaginable panic. Today, Stark Industries is involved in a wide range of industries, even including the field of life genes in which Osborn Industries operates. As a profit-seeking businessman, of course, he had to befriend Lin Fan, a mysterious shareholder. Lin Fan, Mr. Norman is polite. Lin Fan smiled and shook hands with Norman Osborn. The group immediately walked towards the venue. Norman Osborn directly no longer personally welcomed guests, but specially received Lin Fan personally. I don't know how many people were envious of it. Looking at the backs of Lin Fan and the others, many people secretly sighed. The mysterious shareholder of Stark Industries, suspected owner of nanotechnology, this person has a promising future. And at the same time, in the crowd, a group of students from Midtown High School also looked at the scene in front of them curiously. They were all attracted by Lin Fan and Natasha. After all, these two men are handsome and the women are beautiful, and their looks alone crushed everyone present. Not to mention that Lin Fan has an extraordinary background and is also a representative of Stark Industries. Many little girls already have little stars in their eyes. Episode 17, Mystery Shareholder? A Chinese man? Hearing the surrounding discussions, the students also exchanged their ears. One of the girls looked at Lin Fan's back. Because just last night, she accidentally saw a godlike figure in the monitoring data brought home by her father. The man stood out of thin air, and everything around him was suspended in the sky, like Superman in a movie. It's a pity that she just glanced at it at that time. When she wanted to take a closer look, she was kicked out of the study by her own father. At that time, her father still perfunctorily said that it was just a movie clip. Humph. Am I really a 3-year-old? Remembering yesterday's events, Gwen Stacy snorted proudly. Then the image came to her mind again. Although it was only a glimpse at that time, compared with Lin Fan's back at this time, the similarity was at least more than 7 layers. Could that be him? In reality, Superman? Gwen Stacy was immediately stunned by her own conjecture. At the same time, inside the venue, under the hospitality of Norman Osborn, Lin Fan and Natasha seemed to become the focus of the audience. Many celebrities from all walks of life want to come and befriend Lin Fan, a mysterious person. And Lin Fan also responded with a light smile. Although he didn't like intersection, since he had agreed to Pepper to come to the fair, he couldn't make a faux pas. However, what kind of human spirit Norman Osborn is, how can he not see Lin Fan's politeness? He quickly politely invited everyone out of here. Unless it is from an extraordinary background, such as representatives of major enterprises, or official representatives, they are qualified to stay here and talk to them. For a while, Lin Fan's surroundings were suddenly much clearer, and there were at least half of the people missing. Thank you, Mr. Norman. Lin Fan smiled and toasted, feeling that Norman Osborn was quite a good person. It's a pity that he later became a crazy green devil. If given the chance, he may be able to provide some help. After all, life genes are very promising. It would be better if there was something more system reward to be triggered from the other party. Hee, Mr. Lin is polite. Norman Osborn was unimpressed, and said meaningfully, with a character like Lin Fancheng, I can't let Mr. Lin be harassed, otherwise wouldn't it be my fault? Everyone around them also echoed. They looked high, and did not pay any attention to the people around them. As if they and those people are not people of the same world. Huh. Lin Fan laughed at this and was non-committal. He only said a few words occasionally. But most of the time, he quietly observed the crowd around him, especially a group of high school students in the hall below. One of the men and women looked very familiar, which immediately made him interested. Spiders? Is it really today? Lin Fan couldn't help but look forward to it. Today, in addition to promising Pepper, what he wants to see most is the little spider. Maybe he has the opportunity to witness the birth of Spider-Man. But beyond that. Glancing at the woman in black beside Normanos itself, Lin Fan remained silent on the surface. But he found that the man had been silently observing himself. That kind of gaze seems flat, but it hides a dangerous edge, like a poisonous spider seeing its prey. Who could this woman be? Recalling some plots, Lin Fan never thought of the identity of this person. I can't figure it out and I don't waste brain cells anymore. Mr. Norman, everyone, I'll lose company first. Watching the little spider and the others leave the hall, Lin Fan stood up and smiled apologetically, and walked directly towards the bathroom. And not long after he left, Natasha also got up and left. Then there is the woman in black next to Normanos itself. However, the banquet was originally free, and the departure of several people did not attract much attention. And at the same time, West Zone of the Expo, Biology Exhibition venue. Gwen Stacy was surrounded by several girlfriends, constantly shuttling throughout the venue, posing with different scary creatures. Like poisonous spiders, crocodiles, lizards and the like, they are not afraid at all. This inevitably made many male students feel a little helpless. After all, if Gwen and the others were frightened, wouldn't they be able to heroically save the beauty? Peter Parker was also disappointed. Looking at Gwen's back, he took a camera and began to shoot the poisonous insects and beasts instead. Photography is one of his hobbies, and he wants to be a journalist in the future. Peter Parker walks alone through the venue. What he didn't find was that in the corner of the venue, an untimely figure stood here silently. This person is wearing a neat handmade suit, like an upper-class person. Needless to say, this person was Lin Fan. This little spider is really colorless, no wonder you can't find a girlfriend. Lin Fan chuckled and quietly sensed the surrounding magnetic field. He was waiting for the poisonous spider to appear. But at this moment, two beautiful figures appeared in his induction. Hey, Lin Fan, why are you here? Natasha walked quickly to Lin Fan's side. Following Lin Fan's line of sight, she also saw Peter Parker and asked curiously, Why, Lin Fan, do you know that boy? No, just take a look. Lin Fan explained casually, and did not expect Natasha to believe it. He looked at Natasha condescendingly and asked, Why did you run out too? You still say it. Natasha rolled her eyes when she heard this, and said with some resentment, Leaving your own female companion behind and coming here alone to see a group of poisonous beasts is not a gentleman's behavior. Am I not as attractive as these poisonous beasts? Yes. Lin Fan nodded bluntly. Natasha? Episode 18. Lin Fan, you really hate. Natasha, who was speechless, snorted. Unexpectedly, in Lin Fan's eyes, she was a big beauty, but she was no better than a group of ugly poisonous beasts. If she didn't know that she couldn't beat Lin Fan, she would definitely make the other party look good. Do you really think that her name as Black Widow is a wasted name? Oh, just kidding. Facing Natasha's death gaze, Lin Fan shrugged. Instead, he continued to look at the crowd inside the venue. And within his sensing range, Norman Osborn's female companion was also around, even observing them not far away. The other party thought that his location was very hidden, but in fact, he was counter-monitoring the whole time. This can also see the strength gap between the two. What a mysterious woman. Muttering secretly, Lin Fan casually found a topic and asked, Natasha, why are you here too? If you want to join another company in the future, it is a great place to network. I don't want it. Natasha refused without hesitation. Some people are so hypocritical, I can't have an intersection with them. Lin Fan nodded when he heard this, and said, it's the same. Poof. Natasha immediately laughed when she saw this. Lin Fan was quite humorous. Unexpectedly, this superpower, obviously so powerful, also became a shareholder of Stark Industries. It turned out to be an otaku who was afraid of socializing. It stands to reason that otaku like beautiful women the most, especially her type of royal sister. But why did Lin Fan turn a blind eye to her from beginning to end? Is she really not comparable to a group of poisonous beasts? Just when Lin Fan and Natasha were chatting casually. Far away in the corner, not far away, Norman Osborn's female companion, the woman in black, stood silently, her eyes flashing with a strange light. Taking a deep look at where Lin Fan was, her red lips raised slightly, and she turned and left directly. And in the simulated ecological park in the venue, a spider with a black surface quietly crawled out of the ecological garden and crawled along the ceiling. Suddenly it fell on Peter Parker below. Huh? Is this okay? Lin Fan always sensed the change of the magnetic field and noticed the abnormality for the first time. He almost laughed at the spider's slippery foot. As a spider, you can't even fly off the wall, and it just falls on Peter Parker. Can it be a little more coincidental? Does it really have its own protagonist aura? Lin Fan secretly complained, but on the surface, he was silent. It was as if he had found nothing. And in his induction, the spider on Peter Parker's body kept crawling, and finally attracted the attention of the owner of the body. What? Peter Parker felt a little itchy on his body and subconsciously reached out to scratch it. But suddenly he felt something bite on his wrist. The tingling sensation flashed away, and Peter Parker inhaled and quickly raised his hand to check what was going on. I saw 2 red dots on his wrist, and strands of blood flowed out. Peter Parker was taken aback. Because those 2 red dots look a lot like the marks of being bitten by a poisonous snake. But what else did it get? The viper is not a joke. If this is a burp, then didn't he die young? Unlucky, unlucky, unlucky. What bad luck. Peter Parker's expression was solemn, and he hurriedly walked outside the venue. He had to figure out what kind of bite it was. But what he didn't find was that as spider toxins flowed into his body, his genes quietly changed. And all this was clearly sensed by Lin Fan. Is this the whole process of biting Peter Parker? Lin Fan muttered secretly, directly controlling the metal in the venue, and imprisoned the spider. In front of Natasha, of course, he would not reveal his actions. But he was also curious about this spider. Looking at Peter Parker's back and sensing the agitation of various elements in the other party's body, Lin Fan couldn't help but think in his heart. At this moment, the system prompt sounded silently. Ding, the host witnessed the birth of Spider-Man, felt something, extraordinary bloodline optimization. Bloodline optimization? Hearing this, Lin Fan's eyes lit up. He was right. Witnessing the birth of Spider-Man, although it is a silent genetic modification, it also satisfies the mechanism of the system. And the reward he received was that the extraordinary bloodline was optimized again. I just don't know how effective it is. With the expectation of the reward, Lin Fan's heart moved, and he directly controlled the surrounding magnetic field again. He was going to grab the spider and study it. This little guy is clearly quirky. If you can study it clearly, you may be able to gain other things. But right now, when he controls the magnetic field to pull the metal, ready to trap the spider that escapes to the corner. With a sudden, the spider actually bounced off in advance. And it's a coincidence. It actually jumped on Gwen Stacy, who happened to pass by here. The fangs pierced Gwen Stacy's neck directly. Oops. Gwen's Dashi exhaled in pain and subconsciously reached out and touched her neck, but she didn't notice anything. In her body, her genes have also quietly changed. Episode 19. This? Gwen was bitten too. Shouldn't it kill people? This sudden accident caught Lin Fan off guard. He didn't expect that spider to be so powerful. You must know that although he did not go all out, with his current strength, catching a spider is not simple. But he shot confidently, but he was run away by the other party. It's even a coincidence. The spider also bit Gwen, just like Peter Parker who had just left. Just when Lin Fan was thinking about whether to call the emergency number. Ding, the host witnessed the birth of the Spider Gwen, and felt something, the extraordinary bloodline is being optimized. The system prompt rings again. Compared to before, the same but different, just don't know what the result will be. But Lin Fan could feel some kind of change in his body. Perhaps it is the so-called bloodline optimization, the direction is unknown, the effect is unknown, everything is uncertain. Rewarded again? Lin Fan murmured in his heart, secretly surprised. So, are there two Spider-Man? The original Marvel world only had Peter Parker and one Spider-Man. But at this time, there was an extra Spider Gwen. Lin Fan couldn't help but be curious, was this because of the butterfly effect, or was it the way it was? Natasha, let's go back. Lin Fan said and directly turned around and left here. Secretly, he controlled the magnetic field, and finally packed the spider away, ready to find an opportunity to study it. The culprit who triggered the birth of Spider-Man, he was curious. Hey, wait for me, Lin Fan. Looking at Lin Fan's back, Natasha was helpless. This man is really ruthless. With such a big beauty by her side, Lin Fan turned a blind eye, not even looking at it. Originally, she thought that Lin Fan was quite a gentleman. Looking at it now, Lin Fan is a bastard. Feeling complaining in her heart, Natasha stepped on her high heels and quickly chased after her. Soon, Lin Fan and the two returned to the second floor. Meeting everyone's gaze, he sat back in his place with Natasha in his arms and asked casually, "Why is Mr. Norman gone?" "Mr. Lin." The people around were ready to answer immediately. But the woman in black was the first to speak. "Mr. Norman is leaving again. If Mr. Lin has something, I can take you to him." "Haha, no need." Lin Fan was stunned when he heard this, but then waved his hand and said, "I'm just asking." Smiling politely at the woman in black, Lin Fan withdrew his gaze and sat there silently. When everyone present saw this, they did not say anything to disturb Lin Fan. The woman in black took a deep look at Lin Fan. I don't know what to think, her red lips slightly curved, causing many people around to swallow their saliva. Like Natasha, this woman is really a stunner. What a bargain, Norman Osborn, that old man. And beside Lin Fan, Natasha also secretly observed the woman in black, and always felt that this person's identity was somewhat abnormal. Her intuition as an agent told her that this sexy woman in front of her was very dangerous. Even she always felt inexplicably familiar. Soon she figured it out. It turns out that the two of them are of the same type, like thorny roses, sexy and dangerous. Not to mention what the crowd thinks. At this time, in Lin Fan's ears, the voice of the Red Queen sounded quietly. "Master, I can't find out the identity of this person." "Can't find it?" Hearing what Hong Ho said, Lin Fan raised his eyebrows. The ability of the Red Queen is beyond doubt. Even S.H.I.E.L.D. can invade, there is nothing that cannot be done under the sun, and it is not simple to check a person. But at this time, the Red Queen actually said that she could not find the identity of the woman in black. This can only say one thing. Either the woman in black is transfiguration, or it is alien? Impossible, it shouldn't be the scroll. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to see it. Lin Fan directly denied the possibility of aliens. Although he had never seen aliens, with his ability to control the magnetic field, he could sense the aura emanating from everyone. Although the woman in black exudes a dangerous aura, her aura is no different from that of humans. So the other party is a human, not an alien. The same possibility of transfiguration can be ruled out. In this way, there is only one explanation: the woman in black has the superpower to change shape. It's like Raven the Witch in the X-Men. Wait. Wouldn't it? Suddenly, Lin Fan's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but look at the woman in black again. Just now, Spider Gwen appeared. And what about the Witch Raven? If the X-Men also messed in, it should be reasonable, right? Red Queen, help me search for news related to mutants. Pay extra attention to Eric Lanchel and Charles Francis Xavier. With a movement in his heart, Lin Fan's mouth opened and closed slightly, but he did not make any sound. But after invading the monitoring system, the Red Queen is instantly understood. She immediately hacked into the network system and began to investigate according to Lin Fan's request, and even invaded the secret network of S.H.I.E.L.D. again for this purpose. And at the same time, glancing at Lin Fan's small movements, Natasha's body shook slightly. As a top agent, she certainly knows lip service. Although it was only a casual glance, she still understood a few key words, and she was shocked beyond words. Mutants? Eric? Charles? Don't. For a moment, Natasha was shocked in her heart. She didn't know why Lin Fan was using lips and who she wanted to communicate with, let alone what the relationship between Lin Fan and Eric was. But there is no doubt about it. Lin Fan, the superpower who suddenly appeared, definitely had a purpose. Episode 20. Lin Fan did not notice that his small movements were discovered. Because at this time he was also surprised by his own conjecture. If the world he is in is not a simple Marvel world, there will be more hidden dangers. Not to mention the Marvel universe itself, there are many evil villains such as Thanos. There are so many villains in the X-Men alone. Mutant Ancestor, Apocalypse. Sentinel Robot. One is a mutant with extraordinary bloodlines. The other is a mechanical creation of God created by human wisdom. Both possess terrifying destructive powers. Since he came to this world, Lin Fan didn't want to wake up one day and the world would be ruled by some conspirator. As for being nuclear flattened, that's even worse. And in the process, what benefits can he seek for himself? If it's a mutant, then can I incarnate the apocalypse and get all the superpowers? Lin Fan couldn't help but think of his extraordinary bloodline. Previously, he was still a little curious what the so-called apocalypse bloodline was, but now he can be regarded as completely understood. Isn't the so-called apocalypse similar to the ancestral apocalypse of mutants? It turns out that he also has the ability to assimilate all superpowers. And the system is produced, it must be a boutique. Compared to the apocalypse in the X-Men, Lin Fan's apocalypse bloodline is a true apocalypse level. It is not an exaggeration to say that Lin Fan is the source of all mutants. If the apocalypse is the ancestor of mutants, then Lin Fan is a god with the great power to create countless superpowers. There is no doubt about that. After all, Lin Fan's inspiration burst out at the beginning, and he directly opened the same ability of Magneto. Even the strength is no less than Magneto. Witnessing the birth of Spider-Man, his bloodline has been newly optimized again, but he doesn't know what new abilities he will get. Just as Lin Fan was secretly looking forward to it, the system prompt sounded quietly. Ding! Witnessing the birth of Spider-Man, the host bursts out against the sky, has an epiphany, and the extraordinary bloodline is optimized. Ding! The host awakens a new ability, Death Prediction. Death Foreknowledge? Hearing the system prompt, Lin Fan's eyebrows jumped. Exactly what comes from thinking. He was curious about the results of bloodline optimization, and the system immediately gave an answer, and the ability to predict death was very bad when he heard it. Thinking of Spider-Man's own Peter, Lin Fan couldn't help but think. And the next moment, the introduction of this ability also flooded into my mind. Death Foreknowledge. It can be turned on or off autonomously, predicting the future within 10 seconds in advance, and adding spider sensing effects. After reading the introduction, Lin Fan admitted that he was stupid. This ability is also too against the sky, right? Originally, Spider-Man's spider induction was already very buggy, and it could predict the arrival of danger in advance. But this upgraded version of the ability he obtained is 10,000 times worse than the others. Even this can no longer be described as outrageous. Predicting the future in 10 seconds, isn't this the low-end version of the Agamotto Eye? Most importantly, death prediction has no side effects, and there is no cost. The Eye of Agamotto, on the other hand, has requirements for use. With Lin Fan's current strength, coupled with the ability of death foreknowledge, who else in the entire Earth can kill him? Even if the ancient mage came. Ahem, what is that? We are law-abiding and good citizens, how can we be against the ancient mage? It seems that my extraordinary bloodline still has a lot of potential to be tapped. Secretly exhaling deeply, Lin Fan's eyes flashed with a strange light. The system prompt confirmed his previous conjecture. The apocalypse bloodline he possessed was definitely not comparable to the apocalypse in the X-Men, and he really thought that the self-proclaimed apocalypse was the mutant ancestor? Didn't you see that the X-Men also have a little boy who can devour everyone's superpowers? In contrast, the apocalypse is no more than Earl. However, the apocalypse bloodline he possessed was extremely powerful and could awaken any kind of superpower. Master the magnetic field. Death foreknowledge. Lin Fan couldn't help but wonder if he could awaken other superpowers. Theoretically, this is entirely feasible. But if he didn't try to verify it many times, Lin Fan didn't have a bottom in his heart, so he had to try it a few more times. And coincidentally, isn't there a suitable tool person in front of you? Which? Will it be you? Retracting his thoughts, Lin Fan glanced at the woman in black on the other side. He was now even more curious about it. A character that even he couldn't think of suddenly appeared in the relevant plot of Spider-Man, and he was really curious about the identity of the other party. Perhaps sensing Lin Fan's gaze, the woman in black turned her head. The two looked at each other, both with polite smiles, but they seemed meaningful. Natasha watched silently, and her heart became more and more surprised. Who is this person? Could it be that Lin Fan had discovered something? At the same time, the Osborn Industrial Underground Base. Norman Osborn shouted in a deep and angry voice, "It's all a bunch of trash. Search every place for me at once, and if you can't find that spider, all of you can die. Boss, spare your life, we'll go now." The group of subordinates were silent and hurriedly turned to leave. Norman Osborn's face was extremely gloomy. Without looking at the group of waste, he looked at the broken glass petri dish, and his good mood disappeared at this moment.